Hi guys, welcome back. We're almost there. Chapter 21. This is Jeremy. Let's see what happens. I'm just going to read today. I think I gave you enough work to complete today. So look in your emails for that, the language arts work. And I'm not going to give you any questions today. But tomorrow it looks like it might be our last chapter. So we'll see what happens with this one. Jeremy tweets and blogs posts all day long. And the banner headline on the believinginbigfoot.com, he also posts on a lot. And all the press releases he and Joe had delivered instructed people to gather at the old Lake Standish campground, which had a large parking lot and was an easy walk to the center. His plan was to present his evidence, the picture he'd found online, then the picture he'd taken of the two girls, and the fur that he had collected, the fur that wasn't human hair. Then he would lead a contingent of to the experimental center, while Joe, in the kayak that they had rented that afternoon, would lead the charge across the lake in case the Bigfoot had fled the center and was hiding out in the forest. By 6 o'clock, the parking lot was full. A noisy, rambunctious crowd was gathered on the shore. Jeremy figured that maybe half the people were actually serious, either about spotting a Bigfoot or protecting themselves. The rest were treating the night like a tailgate party or a football game. These were the ones who'd come with coolers instead of flashlights, and with beers instead of water bottles, the press release had recommended. One group had even brought s'mores fixing and were building a bonfire. Jeremy paced along the edge of the parking lot with Joe, who was gliding alongside him in her sleek, slow-slung red metal wheelchair. "Do you see what I see?" she asked. Jeremy turned towards her, and she was pointing at the new 6 van that had pulled up in the dirt road with the satellite dish on the roof, particularly brushing against all the power lines as it drove by. He swallowed hard as Donetta Dale, wearing a dark brown suit and brown and gold scarf, gold earrings, and high-heel shoes, stepped out of the passenger side. "Mr. Bigelow," she called, peering into the twilight. Jeremy gulped and dashed over, clutching a stack of press releases. "Right here," he said. If Donatella Dale was used to dealing with 12-year-olds, the only evidence was a brief widening of her expertly shadowed eyes as she shook his hand. "Do you have a copy of the images that we can use?" Donetta asked. Jeremy did. Meanwhile, headlights were flooding the streets. The Channel 10 News at Night truck was pulling up in behind the Channel 6 News trailer. Trailing it were 3 cars and a dirty white van with a fish sticker clinging to its rusty bumper. A van, Jeremy thought. That could have been easily disguised to look like a plumbing van or one that installed security cameras. He stared at the van until Donetta Dale, who was even prettier in person than she was on TV and also smelled good, put her hand on his shoulder. "So, you're a Bigfoot hunter," she said. Jeremy, too nervous to speak, merely nodded. "Thanks for doing such a thorough job on the background," said Donetta. "I remember hearing stories about Bigfoots in the woods around Standish when I was a little girl." She gave a wry smile. "You know, back in the Mosaic era. My gran used to tell me about how her father actually knew someone who was rumored to be half Bigfoot. He had pictures and everything." She wrinkled her nose charmingly. "The guy could have just been tall and hairy, but I always wondered." "Actually, there have been multiple reports going back hundreds of years about sightings in this region," Jeremy told her. Donetta held up her hand like a crossing guard. "I'm going to stop you right there. I'd love to shoot some B-roll if that's okay." "Hey, Brian," she called to her cameraman as he came hustling over. Jeremy smiled. There were people there. There were reporters, there were his friends, and there were other people that he just didn't know. People who believed him or not, and people who just wanted to see what was going on. All he needed now was, "Hey, man," a loud voice coming over to him. "Where are these Yetis?" "Not Yetis, Bigfoots," Jeremy heard Joe say. The guy and his friends, all of them, Jeremy saw with his heart sinking, had beers in their hands, ignored her. "Bring on the Teen Wolf," the young man yelled as his friends started to cackle, then to chant, "Teen Wolf, Teen Wolf, Teen Wolf." "Be quiet," Joe was shouting. "Just listen and we'll tell you what we found." "Shut up, kid," one of the guys said, And then with a laugh, he gave her chair a shove. Joe grabbed the wheels to stop herself, but still came close to flipping face first into the dirt. Jeremy felt sick. He turned towards Donetta Dale, the near grown-up, thinking that adults should stop this. But Donetta had gone over to her cameraman and was gesturing towards the yelling drunk people. As Jeremy watched, the cameraman turned on his lights, and then, instead of telling the guys to cut it out and leave Joe alone, he started to film them. Jeremy saw an empty pickup truck and jumped onto its bed, banging his shin in the process. Tears came to his eyes. He wiped them away, looking for Joe, who had gotten shoved to the back of the crowd. Hey, everyone. My name is Jeremy Bigelow, and if you'd all just give me your attention for a moment. The crowd's reaction was about the same as his classmates had been when he'd launched into his annual report on Bigfoots are real. Sit down, kid, called one of the teenage boys. We came here to see the monsters, said the sunburned woman with curly blonde hair and the tight pink top. Where are these monsters you keep talking about? They're not monsters, Jeremy yelled. He heard his voice crack. They're just different. He wondered if he was too late. He knew how many of these people had guns, how many of them had come not to find a Bigfoot, but to hunt one. They are monsters, he thought, staring down at the chanting, seething crowd. Joe's head was bent so that all he could see was the top of her baseball cap. There were monsters, and Joe and I are the freaks. Look, a woman shrieked. Jeremy peered into the twilight as the camera operator swung the lights in the direction the woman had pointed, flooding the forest in a brilliant glow, and then he saw it. A familiar hunched figure running out of the forest about 200 yards away from the beach, with big hands, big feet, and thick, curly, chestnut brown pelt. There, Jeremy said, right there. It wasn't the little gray furred thing he'd seen. It was much bigger, but it was something, maybe a friend or a relative, and it definitely was not human. Without looking to see whether anyone else was following, he leaped off the truck and started to run. That's where we are. The next chapter is the last chapter. Hopefully they tie it all together for us. The last chapter is Alice, but I think it's going to be all three of them. So I guess we're going to find out tomorrow the ending. I hope you guys are having a great day. Remember, just check your email. I sent some language art stuff for you to do. One of the writing prompts is not due until Thursday. So try your hardest, write really good, use a lot of details, and I'll see you soon. Bye.